Alright lads, so it's that time of the month once more to update our tier list video that we did start back in January of 2022. Last tier list video I did mention that I wasn't going to update this tier list until the 7th anniversary, which will be happening July 23rd, as I wanted to wait for some more characters to come out so we can add them onto the list. Having said that though, I do want to update it this time round, mainly due to the fact that we do have some really cool and powerful characters that I just need to talk about in this video, talking about how good they are in Bleach Brazos. Additionally, there are a lot of new players that came back to the game, started the game because of these three characters on your screen right now, so I guess now is going to be one of the few cases where I update the tier list only after a month's worth of characters came out. So there isn't that many characters to talk about, so the video shouldn't be too long, which I think is a good thing, because the last tier list videos normally last around 30 to 40 minutes long. And in case this is the first time you are watching one of my few tier list videos, do understand that this is how I rank the characters: their damage output, usability, and also survivability. Now, damage output is very important because if you do no damage, then you aren't really going to be classed as a high tier character. Usability comes down to where you can actually use them. I'm talking guild quests, co-op content, PVE, epic raids for example. Do they excel in any of these game modes? If they do, then it will be factored. Additionally, if you are someone with 2 killers, which means you're very likely to be used in more types of different content, then again, once more, that is also going to push you in the tiers a tad bit higher. And lastly, survivability, and this obviously includes skills that will be able to keep characters alive, for example, maybe stamina recovery, maybe dodges, stuff like that is very important when I rank my characters, so I try to factor all 3 of those things and rank the character accordingly. Of course, at the end of the day, this is my opinion, but I do make changes based on you lot's comments, so if you still disagree with any of the placements I do show within this video, do let me know in the comments below, and we can change it next time we do update said tier list. So with that said, let's jump into the video, breaking down this month's tier list video for the month of May. So since we are getting this tier list out a tad bit later this month, I do want to include the newest character that came out in the game, that being the Senkaimon Chad. Now this character is included in every single attribute, so we're just going to get him out of the way from the get-go. He's actually a pretty decent character as far as free-to-play characters do go. He has a pretty high damage output with that 40% berserker and also 25% full stamina damage, which he does provide as a link for your other characters. He also does give recharge, so Chad is definitely one of the best links in the game, if not the best link in the game, but for himself, that recharge and 25% full stamina damage with the 40% berserker allows him to actually hit pretty hard. Additionally, he does have a built-in 20% star recovery skill, which is very good for survivability. Again, it's going to keep him alive, taking full advantage of that 25% full stamina damage, and he also does have some good strong attacks. His SA1 is a lunge forward, SA2 is a beam, and his SA3 is a 4-screen strong attack. The only thing this character does lack compared to some of the newer characters, I guess, again, keep in mind he is free to play, it's just more damage, more survivability, and just better strong attacks. He also doesn't have the best range since he wasn't really given Havoc, so as far as free-to-play characters go, definitely one of the best free-to-play characters in the game, and someone definitely worth picking up if you do beat the Gates of Oblivion stage 16 to 25. But overall, at least in my tier list video, I'm going to put him in A tier across all boards. Again, nothing too special, but someone worthwhile using if you are a Chad fan. He doesn't have the most uses out there, but at the very least, he does have the droplet skill, so even if you don't want to use him for his gameplay, he is going to be very useful in your account thanks to farming droplets. Moving away from Chad though, now let's focus on each individual attribute, the first one being the heart tier list. So as far as heart characters came out this month, we only received one new character, that being the new Fierce Battle Gin. Now Gin is actually a really powerful NAD character, definitely rivaling someone like Tokinada and Misaki, and personally I would rate him an instant S tier character, and that's mainly due to the way I do rank my characters. Personally, if you are a NAD character that has guard break and is ranged, you're instantly one of the better NAD characters of the game, if not the best NAD character of the game. In this case, I would rank him just below Tokinada, and that's mainly due to the fact that Tokinada is a tad bit more useful thanks to his more damage output and the boost that he does have with the status augments. Gin, while inflicting poison, isn't really anything too ideal, and Gin is all about being used in guild quests more specifically. A lot of the damage output that Gin does have is only in that particular quest. Outside of guild quests, he still hits hard, and he's still great to use, just not as hard as, you know, Tokinada and also Misaki. Additionally, I was tempted to put Gin above Tokinada since he does have poison. Poison is definitely a big factor in terms of playability, but I still feel like the thing that Tokinada brings to the table, that being the boost and the weakening, is far more valuable for your entire team than what Gin can bring. Having said that, being a ranged character with flurry and guard break with the nashing that he does have, he's a really fun character. In my opinion, one of the more fun NAD characters in the game, but overall he's just a very solid NAD character. Unfortunately, doesn't have insane capabilities of autoing content like Jusha has, for example. Realistically, there's not that many characters out there that can auto content like him, but he performs fine the way he does, and he's a very good character for the ranged captain week of guild quests, and that is why he deserves an S tier slot. Other than that though, that was basically the only new heart character for this particular month, so for the next 2 minutes I want to spend some time talking about why I ranked the S tier characters the way I did, in case it's the first tier this video you are watching. Essentially, these are your 3 best heart characters in the game. Nini is a character that, while she's the weakest of the three, is definitely still worthwhile using, especially when she does have killer. She has a pretty high damage output thanks to the Frenzy +2, weakening all of her attacks, and also a very good strong attack kit. Her SA1 is great, that being a beam forward, SA3 is full screen, and her SA2 is a vortex that does slowly go in front of her. It's the worst part about her kit, and it definitely does ruin her just a tad bit. She could have been significantly better had she been given a better SA2, but the strong attacks that she does have, the damage output, and also the usability she does have, it does earn the SS tier slot, because most importantly she does have 2 killers, that being Sorrypot and No Affiliation. And the most important thing about this character is that she does have an increased chance of inflicting a stat augment against both of those killers. So that means she's very useful when she does have killer, and it makes her one of the best heart characters to use for IT whenever it is Sorrypot or No Affiliation enemies. And that of course isn't counting the fact that she does have the Super Linkshot skill, which makes her the character you only ever want to use in Inheritance Drafts. Beyond Bankai, Yoruichi is a character I think a lot of people did sleep on when she first released, but now people are starting to realize how powerful she actually is, especially after the release of some of these newer characters. Yoruichi, really powerful. The great thing about Yoruichi, she has a great strong attack kit with a small beam in front of her. SA2 is a lunge, a very good lunge with a lot of distance, and her SA3 is a full screen, above full screen actually, because she does have Havoc. Yoruichi's skills provide massive damage output and great survivability thanks to the fact that she does have status element reversal, which allows her to heal back up the potential full HP when getting hit by a status element, and that does reflect the status element back onto the enemy, allowing her to activate the Spiritual Pressure boost skill. Because when she does inflict the status element, she will be getting an 80% stat boost to her Spiritual Pressure stats, which is great. It allows her to be one of the highest of the characters in the game, and that's very important because she does have Frenzy +1, Berserker +40, and also 20% full stamp. So with those 2 damaging skills together, alongside the fact that she can inflict the status element and get that 80% SP boost, it allows her to be one of the hardest hitting characters in the game. And it doesn't end there, because she also has the very rare skill of being able to have an increased chance of inflicting a status element against any mind enemy you go against. In Nini's case, she only has it against the one she has killer against. In Yoruichi's case, it doesn't matter about the killer she's up against, because she's always going to have that increased chance of inflicting a status element. And that allows her to keep getting that SP boost and allows her to keep hitting it very hard. She's also Yoruichi, so she comes with 4 flash steps, she has Marauder, and most importantly, the thing I love most about her is the fact that she does have a team party buff, where is that when you move into another room, you will be healing your entire team by 20%. So she has 2 ways to stay at full stamina, allowing her to take full advantage of that 20% full stamina damage skill. She's a very good character and definitely rivals someone like 6th Anniversary Aizen. Speaking of 6th Anniversary Aizen, he is still holding the #1 spot of best character in Bleach Brave Souls. He comes with the best SA1 in the game, that being a 3000 length beam in front of him with the added width, making it hit more enemies on the side. He has the best SA2 in the game, that being a distant AoE in front of him into a tracking vortex, and then he also has an above full screen strong attack 3. Very good kit, and it gets better when you realize that he has Drain and Weakening, allowing him to do even more damage and also heal back up to full HP, which allows him to take full advantage of that 20% full stamina skill that he does have. He also has Frenzy +2, which allows him to again be one of the hardest in characters in the game, and he does have 2 killers, Prize Immunity, and also Sharpshooter. He is very good in basically any Guild Quest week you want to put him against. When he doesn't have killer, it doesn't matter. The crowd control he does provide is amazing. He is an amazing character for non-PvE content, great damage output, and some of the best autoing capabilities than any other SP character in the game. He's an amazing auto character and also manual character, and honestly, you can never go wrong with this character. It's going to be a very long time before someone does outclass him, and when someone does potentially outclass him, potentially for the 7th anniversary, they're probably going to be for a different attribute. So he's going to hold the #1 hard character title for a very long time. And with that said, now let's move on to the next attribute, that being the power attribute. Now in this case, as far as the tier list does go, we haven't got anything to change. I think a lot of people are in agreement with it. I'm still tempted to move up someone like Ninao just to be a tad bit higher, and I might do that in the next tier list, but to see how that does pan out. For this month though, we received 1 new character, that being the Spirits of Ewobu Kenpachi. And where would I rank him? Well, personally, he's instantly an SS tier character. The damage output this character has is almost unmatched for a lot of characters out there. Frenzy +2 with a good strong attack kit, that being his SA1 with the Vortex, SA2 being a 3000 length beam forward with the added width, essentially 6th Anniversary Aizen's SA1, and his SA3 being full screen. His whole gimmick is doing a lot of damage. With those strong attacks that he does have, and also Frenzy +2, allows him to hit very hard and has some very smooth gameplay. But it gets crazier when you are at full stamina, because when you are at full stamina, you have an extra 40% Berserker. That is insane. At 1 out of 5, this character is hitting like a max transcendent character. The thing about him is that he wants to stay at full stamina, and he does have that extra skill to keep him at full stamina, that being status element reversal, but it's not really enough in my opinion. I would have wished if he had something extra, but it's perfectly fine the way he is, because again, as I did mention in the showcase of this character, he's basically the personification of a Kenpachi. Kenpachi isn't known about healing himself, so I can kind of forgive that for being somewhat accurate with the character. The Stars on Reversal is definitely a nice way to keep yourself at full stamina depending on the event that you are doing. For most content, it will be enough to get yourself back to full stamina, but for something like IT, for example, you need to make sure you're using something like a Hoji Kazai, for example, because the IT enemies do more damage than you can actually heal. So getting hit by, you know, a Star Summon isn't going to heal you back up to full stamina. It's going to make you lose more stamina than actually healing, unfortunately. But having said that, that's only just a slight nitpick on what the character could have been better. If he did have any more ways to heal, he would have been the best power character. Because what you will notice in my ranking, I'm going to have him number 3. Tied with Kisuke, Bruno, and Ichigo. Because you don't know, they're all technically tied for number 1 spot. They all do things differently and all excel in their own way. That it's kind of hard to rank them individually. It really depends on what you actually value. And I did mention at the start of the video, I like to talk about usability a lot. And unfortunately, Kenpachi with only 1 killer, I find it hard to put him higher than someone like 5th Anniversary Ichigo and also Bruno. Now, I will agree, gameplay-wise, he definitely is better, but with them having 2 killers, they're more useful in different types of content, for example. And if we didn't count guild quests in this tier list, because I do factor that as well, then I think Kenpachi would have had that number 1 spot. But unfortunately, Kenpachi can only be used in 2 weeks of guild quests, and he's more ideal in one particular guild quest, right? Which, by the way, very good in guild quests, one of the best side lanes for the immediate per week of guild quests. As for 5th Anniversary Ichigo and Bruno, they can be used in 4 weeks of guild quests. And Bruno is one of the hardest hitting nukes in the game, and that allows him to be, again, the best power character for guild quest content, because you can get sub 1 second runs of him if you do have him max transcended. With Kenpachi, sure, you might be able to get like a 5 second run, 10 second run max transcendence, but Bruno is able to just nuke harder, and I do like to think about those things when ranking my characters. So in a sense, you can make a claim that he can be the number 1 power character, and as I did mention in last month and the month before, and even this case, those top 4 characters, Kisuke, Kenpachi, Bruno, and Ichigo, are basically all tied for number 1 spot. You can change them in any order you want to, so don't get too fixated because I put Kenpachi 3rd. He's basically number 1 if you want to look at it differently. And the same can be said for Kenpachi versus Kisuke, for example. While yes, Kenpachi does hit consistently harder than Kisuke because Kisuke does need to inflict the Star Summon, Kisuke does have significantly better survivability thanks to that great crowd control on his SA2, complete status immunity, and also 20% stun recovery every time you into another map. So you could even make a case for Kisuke being better than Kenpachi, but for me, I feel like Kenpachi's gameplay is just really, really smooth. And for now, for this particular month, I'm going to put him in SS tier. I'm going to keep playing with him for a bit, at least for the next couple of months, and I'm going to do more testing to see who I perform, Kisuke or Kenpachi. If you value survivability, then Kisuke is the better character. If you don't care about that and you only care about doing damage, then obviously Kenpachi is going to be your best power character. Other than that though, here is the full list of the power tier list. Again, some solid characters in S tier. SS tier are just very good characters with double killers for the most part, or even great crowd control. As I did mention, Bruno, 2 killers, good strong attacks, good damage output, can't go wrong with him. Same can be said for 5th Anniversary Ichigo. He has a great damage output with that 60% Berserker and weakening with, you know, very good strong attacks. Unfortunately for Ichigo, and that's going to bring him down as we do go into, like, you know, 2022 and 2023, for example. Ichigo doesn't have the greatest survivability. He has no inbuilt healing, no immunities, and that really does suck. But Ichigo is being carried on this particular tier list by the fact that he does have 2 killers, and that makes him very useful for a lot of different content. Kisuke, again, great crowd control, great survivability, good damage output, and then Rukia, also good survivability. She has 2 built-in immunities, a heal every time you into another room, has the Bankai button, very useful for a lot of content, and can also hit very, very hard. So that said, now let's move on to the next attribute, which is the speed attribute. And the first character we got for the speed attribute this month was Rose. Now, Rose, I'm going to put at the top of S tier. I feel like he's actually a very solid NAD character. Now, do keep in mind for this section of the video, the speed attribute is definitely significantly more lackluster compared to the other attributes. And while we did receive some good speed characters this month, we still need more speed characters to flesh out this tier list, because speed right now is looking really weak compared to the other attributes that just have some insanely powerful, strong S and SS tier characters. So in Rose's case, him being top of S isn't anything too impressive, but just like Tokinada, for example, or even the newly released Gin, just a very good character. Poise, guard break, flurry, and he's ranged. Can't go wrong with that. Has a good damage output with his 50% bruiser, even more when you inflict paralysis, you get that extra bit of damage. Has weakened defense, good in guild quests, good in epic raids, and good for normal PvE content. You're not going to see him be used a lot, but you can still definitely use him if you are a Rose fan. That's really about it. Good damage output, but no insane survivability, and that's why he's not sitting in SS tier with Jushiro. The next speed character is the newly released Fierce Battle Shuhei, who unfortunately is going to be going in the B tier. Now, you could make a case for him to be an A tier, maybe bottom of A tier, but Shuhei is not that good. Now, essentially, he is basically the exact same character as Zaipo, and you saw how Zaipo turned out in 2021, getting the worst character of the year rewards. Now, in Shuhei's case, he is a tad bit better, since he does have significantly more damage output. I believe he does have an 80% Berserker, but it doesn't carry him. Unfortunately, the weakest part about this character is the strong attacks that he does have. His SA1 is good, his SA3 is good, but unfortunately that SA2 being a plant vortex on an SP character is outrageously bad. I personally do not like that, and I do not value it whatsoever. Now, for what you want to use him, sure, it's good. He wants to be used in guild quests, the Squad 0 guild quests, and he will perform relatively good as a main lead, but other than that, there's really no reason to ever use him when it comes to PvE content. That SA2 basically kills all momentum for this character, and realistically, I can't rate him higher than A or B tier. So for me, I'm just going to put him at the top of B tier. He's a good character, a good damage output, but not too impressive in my opinion. Who is impressive though is Aaroniero, who's instantly going into the SS tier. Now, I do rank him the #1 speed character, but he can definitely be argued a #2 speed character. Now, this is definitely going to be controversial. I know there's been a lot of hate for this character. Most of the people just saying he could have been better instead of saying why he's actually bad. No one's highlighting why he is good, and I feel like a lot of people are looking at this character in the wrong, lens. A lot of people are comparing his damage output to someone like Kenpachi, and I'm feeling disappointed in comparison. But what Kenpachi does lack, Aaroniero makes up for that in survivability. Aarionero's damage output is not bad. He has a 40% Berserker with the spiritual pressure boost at plus 80% when inflicting a status and that does allow him to hit very, very hard. When I was using him in IZ content, he was one-shotting things regardless of inflicting a status and in IT he was also clearing pretty fast actually for not even having killer. But the thing a lot of people are looking over is the character's survivability. He has a 50% chance to dodge against 2 affiliations. He has 2 killers, by the way, that being Hollow and also Aaroniero. He has complete status immunity and also has drain on all of his attacks, and that allows him to be a very, very safe character while at the same time also clearing really fast. Again, people are downplaying his skills. A lot of people are trashing on his strong attack 1, which is fair. His strong attack 1 is definitely the weakest part about his kit, but even with that strong attack 1, he can still clear as fast as some of these other better characters like the Spirits Arthur Kenpachi, for example, but he comes with the added benefit of having significantly more survivability. Now, the reason I do rank him #1 is mainly due to the fact that that extra survivability does push him just a tad bit higher than someone like Noel. Because, for example, Noel and Aaroniero are basically the almost exact same character, and that's why I'm a tad bit disappointed in Aaroniero. I don't dislike the way he turned out, I just don't like that he's almost the exact same as Noel. For example, the SA2, exact same. SA3, exact same. SA1 is basically the exact same, with Aaroniero just having a slightly better SA1, but it really doesn't make that big of a difference. The only difference is the status limits for the most part. Noel has weakening, Aaroniero has drain. Noel has an increased chance of inflicting a status limit against 2 killers, that being no affiliation and also Hollow, while Aaroniero doesn't have that, but he does have, again, dodge against 2 affiliations, drain, and also complete stats immunity. When it comes to PvE content, I would much prefer to bring Aaroniero over Noel, mainly because I like that survivability. In IT, he has the potential to auto 2 different ITs, and that's something that no other SP character can realistically do reliably. So, while yes, if you are looking at this character's damage output and strong attacks, he can be a tad bit disappointing, but his damage output and gameplay in combination with his survivability can potentially allow him to auto a lot easier compared to someone like Jutaro, who currently right now is the auto god. We're going to have to do more testing when IT does eventually switch over to Hollow or Aaroniero killer, and I will be showcasing that on the channel when it does eventually happen. I think a lot of people are downplaying this character, but he is definitely someone that is worthy of the SST, and in my opinion, the best speed character game. I haven't said that, it's not saying much, because again, speed is kind of lackluster to a certain extent. But again, you could make an argument for Noel being better. It really comes down to what you value. Do you prefer weakening and an increased chance to inflict a status limit over, complete stats immunity, drain, and also dodge to 2 enemies? If you do, then Noel's the better character. I do want to mention one thing though, Noel is the better character in Guild Quest. She is still the hardest hit to nuke in the game, while Aaroniero is the second hardest nuke in the game. Noel just outperforms Aaroniero just a tad bit because she does have weakening, and that allows it to be used in 4 weeks of Guild Quest, only at max transcendence. If she's not max transcended, it's 2 weeks, and the same can be said for Aaroniero. He can be used in 2 weeks of Guild Quest, Hollow, and also Aaroniero, but when you max transcend him, you can use him in 4 weeks of Guild Quest. But overall, with that said, both of their characters, Aaroniero and Noel, can hit very, very hard, and most importantly, Aaroniero has some great survivability, which is something that I definitely appreciate. Other than that though, Jutaro, the auto god, as I did mention, very high damage output with his Bruiser, and also Flurry +1, drain on all attacks with the shield, that's a +5 for himself, +3 for your teammates, hits with the boost, allows him to auto anything you put him against. If you want to auto IT, Jushiro is going to be your man, again, until we can test out Adashiro. And as for Byakuya is again slowly fading off, mainly due to the fact that he doesn't hit any stars limits, but he's still being held up by that SA2, which provides great crowd control for 4 weeks of Guild Quest where you can use this character, and also a lot of different content. That SA2 being the distant area into a tracking vortex is one of the most powerful strong attacks in the game, and he has it. He was the first character to have it, but unfortunately he doesn't inflict any damage. But with that, with the damage output that he does have, 40% Berserker, and also 2 killers, it instantly puts him in the SS tier character, but as we do go by, he might slowly drop down into an S tier, but still very solid, and he's also premium, so a lot of people can have dupes this character, and still someone definitely worth getting your hands on. Other than that though, there isn't any other changes that I want to make for the speed attribute. I'm still waiting for confirmation for Spirit Society Ichigo to be fixed, and when he does, I would definitely be moving him up. For the mind attribute, unfortunately this month we didn't receive any new character outside of the Chad, so let's quickly just focus on the S tier characters and the SS tier characters. As far as the S tier characters do go, it's basically the exact same lineup. The only change I'm making now is I'm moving Rukia above Aaroniero. Since Aarionero's introduction, we have not officially been able to use him once, mainly due to the fact that this character has just been getting shafted. The first IT session he was available in, where he would have been perfect in, unfortunately couldn't be used because the enemies were immune to drain. And if you don't know, this Aaroniero gets an 80% stat boost to his attack stat when inflicting a stat element, and that's great. And he also has drain too, so he can heal, he can be a very good auto character, but you haven't been able to test that in 2 months of IT because last one they immune to drain, and currently right now they have the Sparta Killer. So Aaroniero has just been getting shafted. Meanwhile, Rukia has been still usable, and she is still showing that she is one of the best mind characters in the game, and also could be debatable an SS tier character. Now Rukia's whole thing is that she is a great nat character with high damage output, Elm Reverse, which is great on NAD-based characters. It allows them to heal back up to full HP potentially, but most importantly, this Rukia does have an SA2 boost move, which would normally increase your focus, attack, and defense by 33%, but because she does have the booster skill, it goes up to 42%, and that allows a lot of people to use it in multiple weeks of Guild Quest, even where she's not supposed to be used in, because she's providing your team with those extra stats, and you're clearing faster than what you would have done if you brought a character with killer. So Rukia is actually really good, and again, definitely a debatable SS tier character. Looking at your SS tier characters though, again, once more, Mind is still a bit lackluster. We haven't received like a really OP Mind character. We have received some good ones, you know, Shinji and also Shinsuke are great, but in terms of SS tier, we haven't received a super broken Mind character in a very long time, and I actually do expect to get a new speed and Mind character for the 7th anniversary this July 23rd. So in Ichigo's case and Noel, just very good strong attacks. Both have a 3000 length beam forward, distant AoE SA2, and above full screen SA3. They both have a high damage output, and that's basically about it. Unfortunately, they both lack stats limits, which does suck just a tad bit, more so in Noel's case, because at least for Ichigo, he is providing the team with a boost, which definitely does help, and it means you can use them in more weeks of Guild Quest. Both of these characters now can be used in 4 weeks of Guild Quest, which is definitely something worth mentioning. Ichigo also does have 2 immunities, that being paralysis and weaken immunity, and does have extra DR, which just adds to his survivability just to a certain extent. But I said, yeah, that was basically the Mind tier list. Now let's move on to the tech one, which is the final one of the video. So techniques saw 2 new characters this month. Again, Chad instantly just going into the A tier like every single one, and we also did receive Kurashiki. Now do keep in mind, even though I'm putting Kurashiki in A tier, it does not mean he is a bad character. He just simply wasn't designed for PvE content. He is a brave battle character at the end of the day, but he is still very good in arena, epic raids, and also Guild Quest. So there is still some value to be had here with Kurashiki. In Brave Battles, he's one of the best characters in that particular mode, but for PvE content, unfortunately, a mini-nat character without any guard break is very limited in where you can use him, at least for PvE content. But even having said that, it is still worth mentioning that even if he was giving guard break, and that would have maybe put him in S tier, it wouldn't really change the way you play him. For the most part, you would only be using him in point events, because even though Owetsu, who is someone I still consider an S tier character, I don't recommend taking him to COP content because many characters just can't naturally be used there. So I might actually, you could argue for him to be moved up to S tier, because essentially the only place you can't consistently use Kurashiki is in point events, and that's really about it. But anyone could be used in point events, you just clear a tad bit slower. So even though I'm putting him in A tier, I do want to highlight some of the value this character does have. Of course, in Brave Battle, he's one of the best characters in the game. In Guild Quest, he's a very solid character, unfortunately not immune to paralysis, which does suck, but still has a very high damage output, especially when you do get him under 50%. Because Kurashiki does have that unique skill, where under 50%, he takes 50% less damage, and also gets 30% more normal attack damage. And that allows him to be one of, if not the hardest hitting NAD character in the game on a low stamina damage build, which is more so great for epic raids, for example, where he is currently breezing through the Awakened Zapple epic raid. So while this tier list might not represent how good he is overall in other game modes like Brave Battles and Arena, for example, he's still a very solid character. You just can't bring him into co-op content and point events. Anywhere else though, Brave Battle, Arena, epic raids, guild quests, great solid character. Other than that though, S tier stayed the exact same. Again, very solid characters. I don't want to talk about them right now because the video is already long enough. We talked about them briefly in the past, but they're all just very solid characters with good strong attacks, good damage, and just good kits. Let's quickly focus on the SST characters though, because you might be wondering why I placed them the way I did. So Red 2 and Ichigo are basically tied for number 1. They all excel in their own ways, but essentially Red 2's kit, very, very good strong attacks, right? 3000 Limp Beam, very similar to Aizen's SA1 with the added width. It's basically the best strong attack one in the game. SA2 is the Vortex in front of her. Again, good strong attack too. It comes out very quick, hits a lot of times, can inflict drain, which she does actually have on her strong attacks. And then she does have a charged strong attack 3, which is a healing move, which allows you at fully charged, allow you to heal your entire team by 40%. That is insane. This is pretty much the best here in the game, and it makes complete sense that it is actually a Retsu. At the same time, she's a high damage output thanks to her Frenzy +2, Berserker +20, and also 20% full time, which you can easily keep thanks to the weakening and join over attacks, and also the heal move on her SA3. At full stamina, she does get the added effect of being able to get extra recharge, which is great. She's one of the best characters in the game. She has Marauder too. She's an amazing character. The only thing she does like is actually, you know, immunities, for example, and that really does suck, but she makes up for it with the amount of heals that she can get in this game. It's absolutely crazy. As for Upper Ichigo, very good SA1. It's a vacuum vortex, basically the exact same as Kenpachi that we talked about earlier today. SA2 is a distant area in front of him, and its SA3 is an above full screen strong attack 3. He has weakening over the attacks, long stride, poise, and also does have a Bababa +1 in Soul Bomb, allowing him to be one of the hardest nukes in the game, and you can also use him in 4 weeks of guild quests, which is great now. So both of the characters are very good, and again, debatable which one you would say is number 1. If you value the heals, then of course, you know, Right is going to be number 1. She's definitely more of a team player, but Upper Ichigo, with his speed, mobility, and also the fact that he can also hit hard, be one of the hardest nukers in the game, and putting him just slightly above Retsu, but it's basically, again, tied for number 1. With that said, lads, that was basically this month's breakdown of the tier list for the month of May. I wanted this video to be like 20 minutes long, but I can see now that it's just hitting 30. When there's a lot to talk about, even with 5 characters, there's a lot to talk about, and unfortunately, I end up rambling on for very, very long. But we have time-stamped it, so if you only wanted to see a certain attribute, then, you know, you don't have to watch the entire video. But if you did, and you enjoyed it, I appreciate it. Thank you for sticking out to the end. And again, once more in the comments below, let me know what you lads think about the positions, right? I know some people are going to disagree with Azushiro, and if one of your reasons why Azushiro is trashed here because he has a bad SA1, do understand he has more going for him than just an SA1. There's more to a character than just strong attacks. He has great damage output, his SA2 and 3 are great, and he has great crowd control / survivability. He's literally one of the best auto SP characters in the game when it comes to hard co-op content. He might not be the fastest, but he's definitely one of the safest. So that's why I ranked him the way I did. Well, I said again, hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'll see you lads next time. Peace.